to the Pelican Brief with your host, David Tatman.
Hello and welcome to the Pelican Brief. I'm your host, David Tatman. Today, the subject matter is going to be a little bit more somber than the things we've been talking about. Today, we're going to talk about the mental health crisis in Louisiana and all of the challenges we've had over the impact of some of the catastrophic events over the last couple of years. So, everyone I know, and I would bet every one of our listeners knows someone who is suffering from some form of mental illness. It could be depression, drug dependence, child and family issues, veteran issues, homelessness, suicide. I could go on, but I think we all are in this together. And I don't think anyone would argue that we do have a mental health crisis in Louisiana. So, for us, it was COVID, the pandemic, but remember, it's hurricanes. We continue to suffer from the impacts of the multiple hurricanes. Remember Laura, remember Delta, Zeta, Ida. I mean, 2/3 of our population was hit so hard, and our citizens are suffering from really crisis fatigue. We're 49th in the nation on most things, and that's only because we're beating Mississippi in some things. But if not, we're 50th, and I think everyone knows this. And relative to children's well-being based on economic factors, education, health, family, and community, we know that in Louisiana, our rates of suicide, opioid overdoses, drug overdose deaths are way above the national average. And, many Louisianians are being pushed to the edge of resilience fatigue, grasping to find the strength to get back up after being knocked down just too many times. So about a year ago, I learned of a tool/platform that is being used in other states and with great success. And they're clearly performing better than we are. But so we want to focus on upping our game when it comes to mental health services. And I thought today in the show, we would share with you this model so that we can start to see what we may be able to do in Louisiana and what we may be able to do to bring some resources to here. So I want to introduce the team at Network of Care. And Ashman, I'd like for you to kick it off. Can you tell us just a little bit about your platform and about some of the things that are going on, and just share with us how we might be able to help ourselves in Louisiana with some of the challenges that we have?
Well, thank you, David. Thank you for the introduction. If it helps at all to know, is that obviously Louisiana is not alone with these struggles. For the past 22 years, we've been helping the states and local government dealing with these similar issues. Granted, due to pandemic and some natural crisis, the situation has gotten worsened across the country, across the spectrum. We see teen suicide increasing to the degree that is unbearable. 1 out of 4 have ideation and or a plan to attempt suicide. 1 out of 3 struggle with some kind of a mental health issue across the spectrum. We've been fortunate enough to work with the state and local government for 22 years. We worked with them to create a comprehensive solution for mental health, behavioral health that address the issues for the entire target population: consumers, individuals, family members, and professional care network that they have put in place for them. Our goal is to bring in a platform that addresses all these issues and is responsive to our clients at the local level. By that, I mean, during the pandemic, we were able to build a series of tools for our clients. And I have with me Kathy Esterbens, who is our Executive Vice President, that can share some of those tools with us. They run the spectrum, but Kathy, could you share with us some of the main that we did in the past few years for our clients?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So we have done a great deal of customized content for clients all across the country. We have done directory of school counselors and mental health support for the city of Baltimore. We've done financial assistance program for Colorado, the Pikes Peak area. We've done online advanced directive and a power of attorney for the state of Pennsylvania, and suicide prevention and support resources for all of our clients across the country, opioid dependence resources for all clients nationwide. And one thing that's unique about us, David, is that we're the only organization that we're aware of in the country that when we build something for one client, we share it with all of our clients across the country. And that's because our goal is to make sure that every individual who visits a network of care site gets as many resources as we can identify to help them succeed. So, and one benefit of that is that when we accomplish that goal, it reduces the burden on the system. So in addition to, the greater goal of trying to help as many individuals as we can through all these struggles that we've been talking about. And while we do that, we've maintained partnerships with national associations in the public sector. And Pam, our executive vice president, actually is a better person to address that because she manages those relationships. So Pam, would you like to speak to that?
Certainly. Thank you, Kathy. Yes, for the last 20 years, we have enjoyed a partnership with NASHBID, who's the National Association of State Mental Health Program Directors, as well as NACBID, the National Association of County Behavioral Health and Developmental Disability Directors. They have supported our network of care platform, and they support the activities in states that we're currently in. Also importantly, we enjoy the support of SAMHSA, the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration. Afshin, would you like to speak to the specifics of that support?
Yeah, well, our relationship with SAMHSA began when we developed our very, very first product, David. At the time, President Bush established a commission, and the commission responsibility was to transform service delivery environment for the behavioral health community. It was called President's New Freedom Commission. They asked us to do a presentation. We did the presentation. It was supposed to be 20 minutes. They kept us for an hour and a half. And a year and a half, 2 years later, they released a report and mentioned our product by name as a transformative tool for a nation. We did not expect that, but we are happily surprised. And then SAMHSA at the time released a series of transformation grants, which I believe Louisiana received as well, and pre-qualified us as an approved expenditure for all of their grantees. And as we all know, one of the few issues today in the United States that have a bipartisan support is tackling this mental health, behavioral health issues. And that is still true because this last administration released a series of ARPA grant, last round of a stimulus package for the country, and offered the states and local government funding for 4 years for the projects that could help with the current issues that we're struggling with. And within the guidelines of that grant, once again, they recommended the state and local government to deploy a product such as Network of Care by name. That is reassuring for us because that shows that we are the product in the country that can actually solve these issues and help the communities that we're in. We have a statewide deployment in Pennsylvania, Nebraska, Connecticut, you name it, we're in 26 states. The latest one that we are going to launch within the next few months is the statewide deployment of our sites for the state of Texas. Around you, we also have Oklahoma, and Mississippi is planning a launch of our sites in October of this year. Again, we go from Connecticut to Mississippi.
So once again, Louisiana is behind Mississippi. I make the joke all the time. I said, who Louisiana's favorite state is? It's Mississippi, so we don't come in last. And so really that's at least, they're being forward thinking. Texas is always on the cutting edge of everything we do. But let me see if I can synthesize that a little bit. in essence, this is something that we can deploy in Louisiana that we won't have to pay for, or even if we do pay for it, we would be reimbursed by the federal government. Am I understanding that correctly?
Correct. We are a qualified expenditure under the block grant. Also, the current round of stimulus funding, the ARPA, provides funding for 4 years. So this is a unique type of grant that is not annual. You can use this fund for following 4 years. But regardless, you have access to the block grant money every year, and many of our clients currently use those funds to pay for network of care.
Yeah, so that's fantastic. So now we've kind of laid out the groundwork, right? We have expressed the need. We have talked about the fact that we're doing this in a lot of other states, so there's a level of expertise, and frankly, you guys have worked out the kinks in a lot of the programs, and so we're working through that, and then we can get it paid for, right? That's pretty incredible. So let me ask you this, because I don't know that our listening audience fully understands it. So can you kind of walk through and talk about what this platform actually is? Because I've seen it before and I've seen it in action. Can you kind of give us just a brief explanation of how the platform works?
Yeah, I think maybe one of the best way to share that with you without showing you the site itself is to just put out a couple of simple use case scenario, right? If you have a child in the school who, first of all, the schools are where we identify these issues the first time. Is not in the house, is not in a doctor's office. It's a school that calls the parents and say, hey, this is what's going on. If you have a child in the school and he or she struggles with ADHD, you get a call from the school, and for the first time you realize that, okay, there is something going on. Depending on their socioeconomic status, depending on what services are available to you, what you have access to can vary from 0 to everything, right? So when we talk about the at-risk population in particular, but the entire communities can benefit from a place where they can find a comprehensive information solution relative to their issue. Because if I come to you and you say, well, I know a great doctor, go talk to them. That could be helpful, but that's not enough. Because I may need food stability. I may need housing stability. Some of the issues we're struggling with could be resolved with a very stable household. As a parent, we might need employment. So the list of services you need could be very, very long before you can provide a stable house within which a child can thrive. Past that, communication with other parents that struggles with these issues would probably, if not equal, maybe a little bit more important to many of us because they've already been through the path. So tell me where the support groups are. Where can I get information at the local level from others that struggles the same way that I do? Where do I go to learn more about what is ADHD? And even if I find out what ADHD is there an article that can tell a parent how to be a good parent of someone with ADHD? Are there other organizations in the community that could be helpful to me? Is there a NAMI in my area that I can reach out to and find out what's going on? So by comprehensive, I mean all of that. A comprehensive platform that can address most of the needs that I, as a parent, would be faced with to deal with my issues and be as well engaged in the situation as I possibly can be, versus just this one phone number I need to call. And we have to remember that's the children. Now, if you bring that to the adult environment, if it was me, myself, the chances are I'd like to do all of my research anonymously. I don't want to introduce myself. I mean, one of the things that people don't always realize that the stigma is not always something that comes from the outside. Sometimes it is inside. Sometimes I'm keeping it to myself and I'm not going to tell everyone that I'm depressed or I have these issues. I want to do my own research. I want to find out what's going on. I want to find the services, resources, support group, and everything else. Now, when it comes to other issues such as substance abuse and addiction, there is a lot we can do. Obviously, everybody have a service directory of all the services, and treatments are not always hidden, let's just say. However, where are the harm reductions? Where do I go to get rid of, as a preventative tool, where do I go to get rid of my extra opioids that I don't need anymore, so I wouldn't start eating them? As a retailer who have to deal with people overdosing in front of my shop or my bar, where do I go to get my naloxons so I can actually save these people? For the rest of the community, where are the educational materials so we can identify it and help our neighbors and others? So when we talk about a comprehensive information platform to deal with all these issues, that is exactly what we are talking about, to bring about a comprehensive solution for all various subgroup of this larger population.
You bet. And so, so really, in essence, and this is one of the things that I think is the beauty of the program, it's really where all of the resources are in one place, that you can go to one place. And of course, it takes a rollout, it takes education, and so on and so forth. But before we did this show, I went on and Googled suicide, and there were thousands of hits, and I couldn't tell what was real, what was an advertisement. You just don't know. And when you're in that situation, whether you're the family member of someone who you may be worried about, or you're that person, it just seems so just not inviting to call. It looks like ads. It looks like people I don't know. You don't know if they're good people or bad people or what have you. And so I did opioid abuse. And it just comes up and it populates, and I wouldn't have any idea to do. I wouldn't know what to do. And I feel like I'm, at least average in Louisiana. And so, the fact that it's a one-stop shop, that all of the resources are in one place, are pretty incredible. And what Kathy talked about, particularly when we talk about school counselors, right? Because that's where we see a lot of the problems the first time when they pick it up, and because we work with school counselors, and having that resource there for them, because it's not only the person who may be having those issues, right? It could be the mother or the aunt of someone who knows someone is struggling with something and wants to go on that platform to find something to send to that other person, right? It's more than just you going look for it. It's actually an interactive tool, right?
To be able to, yeah, absolutely. I think if I don't, and we looked at all the mental health plan from various states, federal government, but presidents, State of the Union, governors of State of the Union. There isn't one that I have seen in the past many years that doesn't have a line in there that says provide more access to mental health, behavioral health services. Not a single one. You cannot put the commission together in the country to go find out what you need to do to solve your mental health crisis that wouldn't come back and dedicate at least a section, maybe a chapter, to access. Now, access refers to, at the very high level, having health insurance, because without it, you won't have access. But in general, around the communities that we are trying to serve, it's simply what is out there. What is available to me? Because most of the time, you don't even know what are everything else, what are the everything that you actually need, right? You have a struggling with depression, but what do you really need? Why this is happening to you? What resources are available to you? And once that access is provided directly to the individual, and we know our greatest challenge in mental health today is staffing, you will get one less call. You would get one less person showing up at your offices. So if you want to reduce the burden to the system while you're growing it to have sufficient staffing and resources, not only you provide access to the community, but you're also at the same time reducing the burden. You're reducing the calls coming in, you're reducing the people coming in, but above all, you reduce number of people who would show up in your emergency room. We used to jokingly say to some of our clients that if you deploy our product and only 5 or 6 people don't show up in the emergency room, you're making a profit.
Yeah, I will tell you, I have no doubt in my mind that if Louisiana implements this platform, we will save lives. mean, it's that simple.
Yeah.
And look, I know that our state workers are overworked and understaffed and almost certainly underpaid. And when so often someone will call a state agency and that state agency won't have anything to do with what that problem may be. So they have to refer them to another state agency, and then they have to work through the bureaucratic process. I think this is a tool that helps our state agencies and our employees, our state employees, helps them because it will, I think, more clearly direct where those services are. And it will save a lot of time. And again, I think it saves lives. And so I am a big advocate for this because for simply that reason, right? Whenever anything happens, the first thing we say, whether it's a crime or whether it's whatever it is, when we had a child overdose on fentanyl, the first thing we did is we started to blame people. And what we need to do is we need to figure out solutions before we place that blame. And I think this is the tool that can help us with it. I also don't think it's a silver bullet. It's not going to solve all of our problems, but it begins to, I think, address the core of the problems. One of the other things I really like about the platform is the fact that you all are constantly scrubbing it, right? You're going, it's not some database that you go into and they say, you can't reach this or you can't reach that. That you guys are out there constantly putting maintenance on this database, correct?
Correct. We constantly maintain the database, and we also are very, very responsive to our clients. And you mentioned something that that grabbed my attention. You said that this is what we can do that could start things. And I think Kathy can share with you the state of Texas. They called us a Tarrant County, Fort Worth area, and they wanted our sites. And we thought it's going to be like any other site. We just build a site, launch the site, and that's it. It had ignited multiple groups getting together in a regular basis, thinking of the ways that they can help their communities. Those groups have been going on. Kathy, go ahead. Just give a brief background. The group has been going on for now 13 years.
Yeah, 13 years. Right. So this was the pre-contract dialogue. We walked into a room and there were 100 people sitting around 9 tables, and each table was focused on the topic of the website. But that actually, their partnership with us then kicked off mentorships in other states with places that wound up obtaining network of care websites. There are like 3 communities in Wisconsin, for example, who have met with them to talk about how they can make sure that the answer is always yes when they're asked to collaborate and unify their resources, and that's what we're all about. So it was kind of a natural partnership that we all wound up with there.
Yeah, and Pam, you mentioned that you're working with a lot of national groups, and of course, most of those national groups will have affiliates in Louisiana. So it's not like we're on an island. They understand that, right? I mean, you all have been developing those relationships.
Certainly, that's an excellent point.
So our partnership with our national associations and other local and statewide associations that we have is normally relative to what can we do to better serve the communities. So when Kathy mentioned Tarrant County, Texas, and all the other states copying them, because when we identify that something works, Tarrant is extremely successful. The adoption rate is off the roof. The visits are crazy. They constantly add new things. Like recently, they asked us, can people text the phone number and find services via texting? So we built it for them. We gave it to everybody else. And now they're helping other clients to be successful. The same thing is with the association. So when we are partnered with the association, and Virginia came to us recently and said, we need to train our first responders. We need to train our crisis team. We want to do this training online. Can you help us? So we deployed a learning management system for them. We show them how to build their courses. And now they conduct training almost every day, building the workforce that they need to deal with the crisis. So it's basically training for crisis intervention teams across the state. That's where the association partnership with us is most effective. When we identify a need together, work together to find a solution, deliver the solution to the communities. But for us, it goes a step further. As soon as that is done, we turn around to everybody else and say, hey, we got these things if you want it. And we never charge for upgrade. We never ask them for anything else. It's just part of our service. They all will get it.
And I appreciate that. And I know you've come in town and met with, our Department of Health and met with several legislators, and I appreciate the time that you all have taken. So I appreciate all of you being on our show today. I'm going to put up on the screen your contact information so that people can reach out to you and contact you directly. I'm hoping our policymakers take a look at this and they see that there's value here and that we can do something again to help people. Again, I am convinced this will save lives, and if it saves one life, it's worth it. So Afshin, Kathy, Pam, thank you so much for being on our show today. I really appreciate it. If you want to follow us on social media, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, our handle is @PelicanBrief225. That's @PelicanBrief225. If you prefer to watch this on YouTube, it's @ThePelicanBrief225, @ThePelicanBrief225. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Until next time, we are the Pelican Brief.
The Pelican Brief is an off-script production.